Good morning, sophomores. Today we're going to be doing pre-ACT science practice. I am Mrs. Myers. I teach AP Biology, AP Environmental Science, and Honors Bio. All right, about the science test that you're going to take. So last year you took pre-ACT Science 9. This year you're taking pre-ACT Science 10. It'll be a little bit more difficult, and it's practice for the real ACT, which you will take your junior year. This is comparing the test that you'll take this year to the real ACT. You can see the test this year is 30 questions. It's a little bit shorter, 4 passages and 30 minutes. So we recommend you spend about 15 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes per passage this year. Next year, which is coming up fast, next year when you take the real ACT, you'll have 6 passages and 35 minutes. So that's when we recommend you do about 5 to 7 minutes per passage. Okay. On ACT Science, you're going to see 3 passage types. I'll talk you through all 3. This is the first type of passage you'll see. These are pretty common. They're called pure data. They will have lots of graphs and tables, okay? Recommendations I would give you for this passage type, I would say pay attention to the images. So here we've got table 1, we've got figure 1. I would skim the text at most. Don't really pay too much attention to the text unless you can't find your answer anywhere else. And really try to identify trends. So for example, as the time increases here, what happens to the viscosity? It looks like the viscosity also increases. Or as the gum concentration increases here, what happens to the viscosity here? It looks like those also increase. So trends are important. Pay attention to the images, and then also circle your title. So pay attention to X and Y. Those will help you find information quickly. The second type you'll see looks a lot like the first type. This is the experiments type. You'll see multiple experiments. Here we've got experiment 1 and figure 1, experiment 2 and table 1, and they will just be talking through an experiment and giving you data from that. Again, I would say pay attention to images. Most important will be like this graph and this table. I would not read all this text unless you really can't find the answer in the graph or table. Identify trends. You can see here as one goes up, one also goes up. It's a positive correlation. And circle titles. So really pay attention to what's on the X, what's on the Y, what they're paying attention to in terms of titles in the table. Okay. The third type that you'll see, this one is the least common. I'm guessing you'll see just one of these on the real ACT, is called dueling scientists. This one is all text. It's basically like a reading section. You'll see scientist 1, scientist 2. I've seen as many as like 4 scientists. And they're just going to be dueling, aka talking about a scientific topic from different opinion perspectives. Skim these, I would say still go straight to the questions. And one hot tip here is the same info is going to be in the same area. So this first paragraph of scientist 1 is going to have similar info to scientist 2 first paragraph. And then the second paragraph will have similar info for both scientists. So if you're trying to compare the two, they're going to be in similar areas of the passages. All right, lastly, I've got 5 big hot tips for ACT Science. One is expect confusing, unfamiliar science content. It would not be fair if they asked you a physics content question because not everybody takes physics or chem or bio. So it's going to be something you haven't seen before. Don't freak out. Go straight to the questions. I really recommend going straight to the questions. Don't try to read the whole passage. You will run out of time. Question block to save time. What that means is do all the questions about table 1 first, then all the questions about the next section like table 2 or graph 2. ACT tries to slow you down by alternating back and forth between part 1 and part 2 every other question. Don't do that. Find all the 1 questions first, then all the 2 questions first, and you won't get as confused and you'll be more efficient. Fourth, pay attention to labels, titles, and units, of course. And then 5th, you're taking a paper test this year. Make sure you write all over it. All right, this is the passage that we are going to practice. As you can see, it's an experiment passage. They describe an experiment here. They have a picture of the experiment here in figure 1, and then they have a table with the results here in table 1. All right, it's from June 2024 ACT. Try this first question, number 30. Okay, so question 30 asks, was the pH of the liquid added to the mushrooms in step 2, here's step 2, more likely less than 7 or greater than 7? The liquid that they add is nitric acid. Acids have low pHs, so your answer for 30 should be F. Acids are less than 7. All right, try question 31. Question 31, I'm trying to give away the answer, says based on the description of the AAS, so here's the description here, how many different wavelengths of light were passed through the flame? Here's the light source going through the flame, okay? When each of the mushroom varieties were tested, okay? If I go to the description, which is what they tell me to do, look at the description, okay? They say that for each type of metal, a beam of light is passed through, okay? Now I tested for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 types of metals. So how many different types of light were passed through should be C7. If you're going fast, you maybe would have thought it was A because in the picture you only see one beam of light passing through, but the description tells us they need a different beam for each metal. All right, try question 32. Question 32 says, based on the description of the AAS, the detector directionally measured the, all right, here is the detector. So we're looking at the picture that they provide us, okay? And what is the detector directly measuring? We're also gonna have to look at the description because they tell us, look at the description. So here's the description here, okay? And they tell us that the detector is measuring the amount of light that is absorbed. Okay, and you can see here, the light is going across and going directly into the detector. So the answer for 32 should be J, the light that passes through. This indirectly tells us H, the answer that they have in their data table, but the keyword here is direct and is directly measuring the amount of light that's going through. All right, 28, try question 28. Question 28, based on the results of the experiment, which mushroom variety more likely had the higher measured absorbance for zinc? So they're saying zinc and they're saying results. So I know I'm going to look at my results table here. And zinc is Zn. So I'm focusing on this column right here, okay? Variety W or variety Y. Here is W, 109. Here is Y, 87.5, okay? They're asking which one had higher for zinc. The answer for 28 should be F. Variety W had higher zinc than variety Y. And we know also from the description here, the light absorbed is directly proportional to the concentration of that metal. So if one is higher, it means that it's a higher concentration too. All right, 29, try this one. 29 says, suppose that 0.25 grams of dried variety W mushrooms were mixed with 0.25 grams of dried variety X mushrooms. 0.25 and 0.25 are equal. So we're going to have something that's 50% W and 50% X, okay? And tested using the procedures based on table 1. I'm looking at table 1, okay? The amount of copper, if you don't know copper, they do tell you the abbreviation for copper is Cu. So we're focused on this section here, okay? Would likely have been, okay? If it's half W and half X, it's probably going to be in between the W and X values. So W was 49.5, X was 37.5. My answer is going to be something between 37 and 49. So 29 should be B, between 37 and 49. That is making a prediction. Sometimes ACT Science will want you to make a prediction based on what they have given you. All right, last question. Question 33 says, consider the cadmium ion as shown in table 1. So we're focused on table 1. And we're focused on cadmium, which they tell us up here, cadmium is CD2+. Okay. Does the number of protons increase or stay the same? And does the number of electrons increase or stay the same? This is the only question in this whole passage that requires you to have some prior knowledge. So this is the only question that you really need to know anything from chemistry. If you have taken chem or physical science, you probably learned about ions. and probably learned about atoms and what's inside an atom. Protons, if it's staying cadmium, are not going to change because we define an element by the number of protons that it has. So we know it's either going to be C or D because the protons are not changing. You needed to know chemistry knowledge for that. This is okay. You can still do really well on Science ACT if you don't have these couple prior knowledge questions, but we still want to get them if we can. So now our options are the electrons going to increase or decrease? If something becomes positive, cadmium is 2+, it's positive. That means it has lost something negative. So electrons will go away, and your answer should be D for number 33. The electrons have decreased. Electrons are negative. You get rid of something negative, you become positive. So cadmium is positive. That one was a tricky one. It's okay if you didn't get it. But we always want to try to get the prior knowledge ones. Cool. That is all I have for you today. Good luck on your pre-ACT science.